Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I just wanted to let you know that you can find the slides for this presentation here in the comment section, in addition to many more information about the topic. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And with that, have a lot of fun.
Thank you very much. So we will talk a bit more about CleanCore and specifically about the extensibility part. And in this session, what we will be doing is, first of all, covering a bit the basics of like what is CleanCore, then what are the benefits, how to get to a CleanCore, what are some myths and facts, and then we will go into information of where to get started with this. But before I start there, I want to put a question back to you. And this question is, how often do you upgrade your ERP per year? Is it maybe once per year? Maybe give us a quick show of hands. Okay. Is it twice per year? Or let's not talk about it. Okay, I see a lot of free hands going up. Okay, I think we're in this space. Okay, but I saw somebody putting their hand up for twice a year, so that's really impressive. I want to talk a bit later about this as well. So, with that, I want to ask now, how familiar are you with the CleanCore methodology? Again, one, I've heard about it. Good, two, I've adopted some of the areas, done some of the stuff, and then three, completely, fully clean. Ooh, is that the two or is that the three? The two, okay. So I haven't met a lot of people saying they are fully clean, so I'm always interested if somebody's here who says that. But what do I often hear when I go to different customers? It is that BTP is the only means of making and keeping the clean core, the core clean. Or I hear CleanCore is only about custom code and extensibility. And I also hear fit to standard is the only means of making and keeping the core clean. And CleanCore is only about TCO. So I put these out there as statements, and some of them we will go a bit more into detail if they are true or maybe not. But often when customers start on the CleanCore journey, I feel that there's a bit of a confusion going on, and maybe you have then a similar look like this lovely dog here. So what I'm hoping to try to do is now over the next minutes that we have here together to give a bit of clarity to it, what it is and how can you get to the CleanCore. So let's start with what it is. And I brought this lovely definition and I broke it up into several pieces. So it's a modern approach to design for business processes, extensions, integrations, data architectures in a stable, upgrade-safe, transparent manner, along with separate platforms to innovate for additional differentiation. Okay? So from that definition, what we already can see is that it is not only, I can go back if you wanted to take a picture, I can go back. Whoop. Can I go back? I can't go back. Sorry, there is a back. So, from this picture, what you already can see is that CleanCore has several different dimensions. And these dimensions are that you, first of all, need to keep your extensions clean. You need to keep your data clean. You need to keep the integrations clean. You need to keep your processes clean. And you need to keep your operations efficient and effective across this landscape. And what is happening, what we will now do is we will go through these. We will spend a bit more time on number one because we're talking about extensibility here today. But I will also go into the other dimensions a bit more and give you a couple of things of how and what you can do in these areas. So what exactly now is CleanCore? I mean, we saw this lovely definition, but I sometimes really like to take these things apart and what do they exactly mean? So when we look into clean, and again, a lovely definition, but it's up to date, transparent, unmodified, consistent, efficient, and cloud compliant. A lot of different words in there, right? But if we look on the other side, the core, right? What is the core? It describes the main aspect of an ERP system landscape, namely the extensibility, the processes, the data, integration, and operation. And all of these different capabilities depend on what kind of software stack you are at. So a quick show, who is still on ECC? Okay, a lot of hands go up. Who is on S4 on-premise? Who is on S4 in the cloud? Okay, some hands, great. So a wide variety. So in terms of what is the CleanCore, can really see it broken down, what we mean by this. And in order to achieve CleanCore, one of the main parts can be done with the underlying business technology platform. If you haven't heard about it, it's a technology platform that encompasses 5 key main areas, which you can see here below. It's about application development, automation, integration, data analytics, and AI. Today, we will mainly focus on the app dev and integration part, and some parts also on the data part. So not so much on the AI part. And to put a bit of a disclaimer out there, a public cloud system is clean per definition. Well, if you're on a public cloud system, congrats, you're already clean, but I guess you would not be in the session here if you would be going with a public cloud system. So just to cover also some of the benefits. So why would you even want to go on a CleanCore? Well, it's about the agility and flexibility that you're getting with it. If there might be any kind of quickly changing business or market requirements again, you have a much more better way to engage with these and, for example, build new things, react to it in case if you want to or need and have this business need from your organization. So decreased time to value, you have much better, quicker process requirements that you can then meet. So you gain a flexibility and agility. You're also always able to consume the latest and greatest innovation in the particular software stack. Especially in this era of AI, we are keeping on developing and adding also new embedded features into our technologies. So with the latest innovations and with the latest update, you get also all these things. Now we'll talk about one customer later on, but what I have seen when a customer was here and presenting about CleanCore and what it has enabled them, he was like, in the beginning, the business users were not really interested about these innovations. I just want that my system works and this is all I want. But then when he suddenly started to get more and more of these newer upgrades in, they were like, oh my God, we suddenly can do this, and this is so cool. So sometimes it's also first showing and demonstrating to see also what are some of the benefits that come from it. And then it also helps you to make your operations more efficient and secure, because it helps you also to bring your maintenance costs down for your currently running systems that might be not in a CleanCore dimension. And it also helps you to create some data to value. So here are 4 reasons and 4 of the benefits what come with a CleanCore. Well, so now how to get to a CleanCore, right? This is the question that we're looking into. So let's take it a bit more on a high level, and we'll put a couple of points in there, but we will go a bit more into detail even there. So first, try to reduce the data and process inconsistencies as much as you can in your organization. Second, try to have some kind of establish some housekeeping rules and some governance structures, right? What is allowed, what is not allowed, who is responsible for this, when are we doing things? Maximize the use of standard functionalities as much as you can and its ROI. So it is a way to kind of look into the different functionalities and check back if somebody from the business comes and says, we need to have this, do we really, or could we maybe do it with the standard functionalities? Building cloud-compliant extensions that are integrated and using stable interfaces. Well, if you have a business requirement that is not fit by standard, then build them in a cloud compliant way. And also minimize any kind of customization complexity that you have in your organization. So this is the high overview level. I want to now come back to this, and we will now go a bit more into detail in all of these areas. So let's start with the extensibility space. First of all, extensions should be avoided whenever possible. And you're like, oh my God, what now? What is she saying? No, we need our extensions. Well, yes, of course you need them because it gives you unique complexity to your business. But again, think about when and if they are really needed. And what I've seen with customers who adapted the methodology, they really had a strict understanding and also processing when there was a request for an extension, if that one is really needed. So therefore, if it's not needed, try to avoid it, okay? But of course, there needs to be a way. So if so, create them in a cloud compliant way, and we will cover what that exactly means. Custom extensions should be ideally so that once you have an extension and you do an upgrade, your extensions don't break, right? So you don't want to have the headache that anything is going down in the system and then suddenly something is happening and you might be held responsible because something is not working correctly in the organization. So in order to build cloud compliant extensions, do it either in an on-stack or in a side-by-side with the SAP Business Technology Platform. What that exactly is, we will also cover it. I have these slides, and don't start reading them, but I put them in for you because, as you can see, they give it in a much more written out in a nice way with a lot of lovely links. And for each of these 5 areas that I've shown you, I have currently hidden them, but I will unhide them when I share the slides with you. So I talk about a couple of these different things that are in here. For example, the application extension methodology. I will also have one slide in it about it. But again, you have them in a bit more detail about the things that I will be covering here today. So in terms of the extensibility space, I really love this animation of this slide. So where you might be right now is on the left space, right? You have your on-premise system with some standard processes and some custom processes. And you're thinking about moving into some, for example, an S4 transformation or even to the cloud. And then if an upgrade comes, something like this happens. So therefore, what we advise is to either use then direct inbuilt capabilities of how to build extensions, or to move some of those extensions over onto the SAP Business Technology Platform. And thereby you have roughly 3 options, which you can see here below. However, these number 3 will actually also get split into another 3, which I now show you in the next slide. So we have S/4HANA Cloud on-stack extensibility, and we have SAP BTP side-by-side extensibility, okay? In the old way, in the unclean way, we would do the classic extensibility where we directly get into the code, and that is then not upgrade safe. So, but there are other ways of how we can build extensions. The first one is we have directly in S/4HANA Cloud some kind of key user tools, okay? These are tools that are more like for people on the low-code, no-code way, where you already can build some of the extensibilities. Then we also have a way of how you can write ABAP code in S4, but still be cloud compliant. Okay, so there is a way of how you can do this in the software and still be cloud compliant. This is a thing which a lot of people sometimes do not know because it gets a bit confusing. Why? I will tell you in a second. On the other side, if we now look over into the SAP BTP space, we have in the low-code space also SAP Build. I will cover in a second more what are the different products. Then we also have SAP Build Code, which is more for like a JavaScript development environment. And we also have a BTP ABAP environment on the BTP, okay? So that's why it gets a bit confusing because you can do ABAP here, but you can also do ABAP here. So now looking at the slide, what is the question you will ask me? Which one? Yes. Which one should you use for what? So which tool should you use? Here, a first try of an explanation. On the left-hand side, you can see in the S4 cloud stack, or like in terms of the on-stack capabilities, you should, for example, if you want to adopt a new user interface, create some custom analytics, expose some data, and so on. On the left-hand side, it's more about the innovation part, creating maybe a new mobile user interface, having some new innovative processes, integrate some AI into this. So roughly what I can say you from these different use cases is, if it is very tightly coupled to S4, do it on this side. If it is more loosely coupled in a bigger innovation project, do it on this side, okay? So I often still get the question, when should I do what? And what I still also would advise you is, if it only needs to interact with S4, for example, also do it here. If it needs to interact with a lot of different other solutions, for example, if you want to also integrate to SuccessFactors or to Ariba or any kind of other third parties, do this on this side, okay? So tightly coupled, loosely coupled. But there is a lovely decision tree, you know, if in case don't want to go into much detail, but there is a decision tree. We are very good in hiding this decision tree because it's in a 52-page document and it's on page 15. You can also get I put it very big, the document in case you want to scan it, page 15 in order to find it, but it also is in here. Well, if you want to read these 52 pages, it just, again, describes these things that we are talking here about now. But yeah, roughly you can see, again, the key user extensibility, the on-stack developer extensibility, which is the S4 directly doing ABAP in there, and then the side-by-side. It doesn't differentiate between the 3 BTP parts. But there's also another decision tree, which one of my colleagues made. So really quickly just going through it. It's roughly, if you can do it in S4. If you don't have a good business reason, and this is again where it comes into this, what I said in the beginning. I see a lot of customers being really strict about when there's no business reason, then they don't do it, okay? So I just put you this other decision tree in here in case you want to also use this one. Okay, but what if there's no API available that you can connect to? Is normally the next question that customers ask. So let's have this lovely overview. So different view, but same, a bit similar thing in terms of we have S4 and we have the SAP Business Technology Platform. What we advise, tier 1, really good because you're very clean, are these like bubbles that I've shown to you before. But all of them are mainly about connecting to public available APIs and not directly going into the system. But if it's not available, what do you do then? Well, then we have this option of a tier 2, which is a cloud API enablement, where you use a wrapper object. Really broken down, it means that you still try to do the majority of your code in a clean way. But if some of these things are not like the part about where you connect to the system, this is what you put in this wrapper object. And that is the part that you still always, with every upgrade, of course, need to look at, because your extension would, in the sense, break. So you would need to look at. But you still reduce the code of which you need to look at into this particular area. The rest you keep already clean. So once this API maybe becomes available, it's an easier switch for you. And then the last part, right? I mean, we don't talk too much about it, but we try to either retire or to re-innovate this part. Well, what if there is no API available, but you really are in need for it? Well, there is a way as well to how to suggest that SAP should build this API. But I want to still highlight that a lot is already out there. I mean, you see the numbers up there. We have done a lot in this space. You can find all of these on the SAP Business Accelerator Hub to look out for what are the different APIs and also publish CDS that are out there. So if you want to check it out, the SAP Business Accelerator Hub. But if it is not there, we have the Customer Influence Session Portal, which you have like a lovely screenshot here. This is where you then also can suggest APIs. Okay, I said we talk a bit about these different parts. So we have the key user extensibility. You see the bubble, I put it in there again. So what you can do here, a couple of screenshots. For example, the UI adaptation mode, right, where there are in S/4HANA Cloud already some parts which you can hide and unhide and rename. You can also have some custom fields in the SAP Fiori app, some custom business logic, some custom CDS views. These are things that you already can do in the key user extensibility. So the different parts of the, now moving over to the BTP bubble, right? We have SAP Build, we have SAP Build Code, and we have the ABAP Environment. Let's start from the left to the right. SAP Build. SAP Build encompasses of out of 3 different technologies. The first one is SAP Build Apps, is where you build applications. The middle one is about SAP Build Process Automation, where you build automation, workflows, basically processes. And the right, like SAP Build Workzone, is about building business websites. So if we just go into the first one, SAP Build Apps, here, this is a software where it's about what you see is what you get in terms of the building. You have some drag and drop functionalities. You can build the application. You need to, of course, then add some business logic, some database. You can connect it to an SAP HANA database and so on and so on. But this is a very quick, easy solution where you can build side-by-side extensions. One company that I want to mention here, which won a recent SAP Innovation Award, is PivPav Alimentos. They had the case that they are like in a Brazilian food company, food sector company, and they had the maintenance technicians always going onto the shop floor, looking at the different machines, taking notes on the papers, and then taking the papers back to the system and putting in the data into the different systems. And instead of doing this, which is quite a manual process, they developed an application. So they built this application with SAP Build Apps, which was an offline and available application, because if you have been on the shop floor, there's not often great internet, so then it later syncs and connects with the data. I think the remarkable thing is that they went live in 3 weeks. I'm not sure if you have developed an extension in 3 weeks, but they did. And I think this is again where this kind of low-code power comes in. Of course, you can't do everything in it, but you can do a couple of things in order to have a quick turnaround. They also had some other points where they gained some achievements in terms of the reduction in time and cost, and also the reduction in paper waste. Some of you might appreciate a lovely architecture diagram of how this is built and how it connects. In case you want to look in a bit more detail, I put this also in for you to understand how such a side-by-side extension was built. Okay, so the second part of the SAP Build part is how you can build automations. So here, just a quick overview where you can build a process, for example, a workflow, right, where you can automate some of the things. I just have been sitting in the AI session, and he was saying often the different use cases that they go through with the customer in such kind of a use case identification, they've come out with that it doesn't need to be necessarily AI. If you can put the nail in without a hammer by just like maybe pushing it with your hand, you can also use automation tools. So also here again, these are things where you might be able also to automate things and already make some quicker processes in your organization by using this tool. The third tool was about creating business websites. So here you can see the lobby interface, and this is, for example, an internal business website by creating, for example, bringing these different links together, exporting some of the data, making it visual. So there are various different use cases as a partner portal, as an internal employee portal. Again, another way to maybe create an extension for your business. So this was only the left-hand bubble, but now let's go into the middle bubble. SAP Build Code. So this is our newly released product for Java and JavaScript development. So you can do coding, you can do testing, you can do integrating, and basically manage the whole life cycle of an application. And we also have now infused their AI into the product. So what you can see in this quick video here is, sorry, just going back, I think it needs to. Nope. Okay, yes. So here again, these three different ways, what I showed you before of how to do it in a low-code way. And here we are now building applications. So we can either use Build Apps, which was the low-code way, or SAP Build Code, which is the pro-code way. And we decide to go for the SAP Build Pro-code way. We give it a project name. We create, we decide if we want to do full stack or more like the UI part. And when we go into there, we have a customer loyalty application. We can see that the different data models and the different services are, for example, not be given yet. And of course, if you're a developer, you can do this and code these things now. But you could also go to the new icon that we've added in there and put in the text to describe, okay, I want to build an application, and this application should have these different service entities. And when the code is correct, you can either adapt it and take it with you, or you can go back to the prompt and change the way of how to say this. This is, by the way, out right now. You can test it for free if you want to. So there are ways of how you can leverage already these technologies, again, for example, building some of your extensions. But of course, it's not all about AI. It's about also all these different parts in terms of how to build your extensions. So of course, extend your SAP solutions, use some of the Fiori capabilities with Fiori UI5 and SAP Fiori Elements, create and run different mobile applications, develop SAP HANA and native applications, and also use the build multi-tenant SaaS applications. So this is all what you can do in this area. But you can't use ABAP in there yet. I think what we're doing is we are looking into also adding this, but at the moment we still have our SAP BTP ABAP environment as a separate part on the BTP, but also on S4 directly, as I mentioned before. What is the difference there? You will have there a toggle switch, which you can see here on the left-hand side, where you say, okay, from ABAP, standard ABAP, you can also have ABAP for cloud development. What that essentially does when you switch that language on is that you have your normal ABAP code, but if you do something that is not cloud compliant, it will flag it and say, you should not do it this way. And then you need to write it in a separate way so that it then is, again, accepted. So you can see here, again, I don't expect all of you now to know ABAP code, but I guess you get the idea what is the difference between the different versions, and in case you have had experience in this space. Well, I mentioned before, but there is also a whole methodology that you can follow in terms of how to build your applications. I just put this one also up here in case you want to scan the QR code or later come back to this. It's a very good extension methodology in terms of like what are we recommending, what are different best practices, and so on. So this was now the first pillar where we spent a bit more time. The other parts, keeping your data clean. Well, it's about meeting modern data requirements, right? It's about being accurate, being complete, being consistent, being timeless. You also want to think about your data volume, because if you go to the cloud, you don't want to bring a lot of data volume with you. Why? Because that is also expensive. So you ideally want to retire and archive some of this data and only take the data with you that is really needed. Thereby, you want to look at which is the data that's used, which is the data that is outdated, which is the data maybe that is redundant, right? And think about these parts. You also want to think about where you really store personal master data, right? You don't want to bring any kind of like particular data with you. There are also different ways of how you can also differentiate these things. One of the tools that you can use is SAP Master Data Governance, which gives you first a consolidation of your master data. So one version, creating one single version of truth for your master data. You also have a way where you can centrally govern things and also look at the data quality and the process analytics for your organization. Just also a quick video. We have some incoming data here on the left-hand side, and we are looking, and there is then an internal check performed, what you can see here. So, and then some matching is performed about these different master data points. And then you can see here which are open, which are approved, and which are rejected. You can see the majority was on the predefined business rules approved, but some of them are still open. And then you can review these in the match review function, and from there you can then either decide to approve or reject them. There are obviously much more functionalities, but I really prefer to show you sometimes how this looks like and what is behind it. Of course, that's not only thing, but there are many more functionalities. Another part is SAP DataSphere. So this is our new product about how to bring data together. There has been a lot already also in maybe in other sessions which you heard about it, but if not, just to quickly summarize, instead of ripping data out of your data lake, we believe in a concept that's called a business data fabric. So where you can bring the data in, but by keeping also the context and the semantics. And it's not really keeping the data in, it's more like of a federated connection, so bringing the data in with the context and preserving the context. How do we do this? We have several different functionalities. It starts over from the self-service data access, goes down onto the data ingestion, and I just mentioned the data federation. Again, there are many more functionalities of what you can leverage in there, but this is really about bringing also external data from external hyperscalers, where we also have now built out and partnerships for this data federation. So there are a lot of different partnerships that we do in the space to really simplify and make the data landscape easier. So also maybe something to check out in the data space. Okay, we covered extensibility, we covered data. Let's go over to the integration space. So in the integration space, ideally keep to standard APIs as possible. Thereby, you can also have some newer capabilities, which are more the loosely coupled integrations with event-driven design. You ideally should avoid the more like traditional ones, the RFC or the IDOC way, because again, these are more the classical one where you exactly go into the core and then you're not upgrade safe. And also have some SAP application interface framework, which also can help you with the integration framework and also how you're like setting up yourself in this integration space. Well, the one flagship product that we promote in there is SAP Integration Suite. You have several different ways of what you can do in there. And when we talk about integration, you obviously need to talk about what do you want to integrate. So first of all, you can integrate SAP applications, but you can also integrate third parties. So what that means is you can integrate SAP to SAP, SAP to non-SAP, and non-SAP to non-SAP. But you can also integrate to different governments, you can integrate to business partners, and you have several different capabilities of how to do so. So you can see here we have the integration assessment, which is about creating the strategy. We have the cloud integration parts, which are about the more end-to-end integration service. So it's this application to application or process to process integration. We have our API management, which is about creating, discovering, monitoring all of the different APIs that you are using in your organization. We have the newer capabilities as these event mesh capabilities that I mentioned, and several open connectors. I can again really highly highlight the Business Accelerator Hub, where you see a lot of the pre-built integrations that are already out there. So if you haven't been on there, definitely go on the Business Accelerator Hub to check out what might be available for you, because I mean, there are over 3,400 pre-built integrations. I bet there must be one that might be also working for you in your organization. Well, we also provide you with a choice of where to run it on, because we have this multi-cloud approach. So you can again choose which hyperscaler you want to choose for your for running the SAP integration suite. Just also again, I snapped you with a quick video about how this Business Accelerator Hub looks like. You can see in terms of like if you want to discover it by the business process, maybe by particular APIs or like particular product. You can see also the different explore the domains, different industries, or even by different partner products that we are offering. Again, there's a lot what's on there. You just need to click your way through in order to see the different ones. We went here now in the SAP Business Technology Platform to just see what are the open, like the available integrations that we have already here. You can see some of the governments that I mentioned before and some of the other applications. But then also here, all the different APIs with the different parts, right? With the different versions, like parts of the APIs, the different events, integrations, business processes, and also the build part, the SAP build part. Okay, going now from, we have done extensibility, we have done data, we have done integrations. So now let's move over into the process part. So when it comes to the process part, you ideally want to have a state-of-the-art process governance there. So what that means is really including, for example, also transactional organization structures and also requirement management parts. You also would ideally have some kind of like an application architecture. Some use anything of what we offer in terms of best practice and ideally stick to it as closely as possible. And also think about what are your processes at the moment, map them out, think about different improvement areas, and also establish some process management structure in your organization. So when it comes to like reducing the complexity in your processes, thereby just a quick also video, which is from one of the blog articles that explains the architecture framework a bit more in detail. And basically it recommends here certain tools and services, again, how to, for example, come to this like architecture and the different processes of how you should run them and create a common language in your organization. It recommends a couple of tools. One of them is, again, the Business Accelerator Hub that we have just seen before, SAP Signavio, which I will show you in a second, and also the Trust Center, where you can find everything around security. So I just mentioned SAP Signavio. So SAP Signavio is this tool that helps you to understand your business processes better. And what exactly it does is, first of all, you can understand and establish, have a business process management tool. So map out your processes. You can see it a bit here, right, in the corner in terms of like how it is mapped out. You can extract some of your data, or we have also some of the live connectors directly to understand what is your business process based on the application that you're already using. It gets mapped out. But then it's also about not only understanding your processes and mapping that out, but also doing some process mining. So understanding where are the bottlenecks and how can you improve them. One improvement point could be, for example, automations, which we have just seen before. And it's about, again, we have process best practices to keep ideally as close as possible to the process best practice in this space. Okay, quickly covered also processes. Now let's go into the operation space. Well, when it comes to the operation space, you ideally want to see it as an end-to-end concept. Don't start just in one area, and this is the one area that you do. Of course, with CleanCore, it's quite an overwhelming topic. So, of course, pick yourself one area where you want to start. But ideally, again, see it a bit more of a end-to-end process in terms of like how you want to go about it. Ideally, also look at the different release management, right? Because you want to stick with the different updates. You also want to understand when is something coming. Talk to SAP. there's a lot of different ways also of how you can also hold us accountable for things. And also ideally have some housekeeping activities and again, follow the SAP best practices. Again, here I want to really stress what I've learned from my customers is that you need to define clearly in your organization who's responsible for what, when is it done, how is it done, okay? And this is exactly what we mean by keeping also the processes efficient. One thing of how you might be able to do it, I have seen it also tons on the agenda here at SAP, Mastering SAP, as SAP Cloud Application Lifecycle Management. And a quick video what this is about.
SAP Cloud ALM is SAP's flagship application lifecycle management offering. It is created to streamline the way our customers operate their cloud and hybrid environments across their entire business. Through a holistic approach that covers both implementation and operations of cloud solutions, SAP Cloud ALM enables you to understand how to manage all aspects of any SAP Cloud product. It provides a pre-configured, content-driven guided workspace, enhanced with SAP's best practice support and methodology. You can manage project teams, business processes, and monitor integration-related exceptions with efficiency. SAP Cloud ALM is capable of finding and analyzing anomalies and exceptions during business process execution. And best of all, SAP Cloud ALM is included in your cloud subscription. It's immediately available, works intuitively, and delivers value quickly without the need for hardware investment. Do you want to learn more or want to request SAP Cloud ALM? Please go to support.sap.com/cloud-ALM.
Okay, so this gave a quick overview about, for example, in the cloud LAM space, what is it about and how you could use it. This is Frederick from Orobay, and I've met him roughly like 3-4 weeks ago when he was in Stockholm and also in Copenhagen speaking about CleanCore and giving the customer perspective of how he has achieved it. And this photo was taken from him in Copenhagen. And the crazy thing was that he just has finished his upgrade literally when he was about to go onto the train in Stockholm to go down to Copenhagen. And he has done this within 2 weeks. He's done this upgrade. And he also has run an upgrade which he done in 10 calendar days, okay? Not in 10 business, like in 2 weeks business days, but in 10 calendar days. So I was quite impressed by hearing about the story. So I just want to quickly also highlight a couple of things that he set out in terms of clear responsibilities. You know, this part which I was talking about in the operation space, he really set, hold accountable who in your organization is responsible for something. And also from an SAP side of view, what is the SAP responsible helping you on this journey? He said CleanCore really has massively helped him simplify his life in your organization. He also said automate the testing part. I mean, there are some partners and vendors out there that can help you with this. So he said that also really helped in his organization. Create some government guardrails, right? I've mentioned it before, but again, I feel like it's really interesting. You know, we stand here and talk about these things, but then we have customers who went through this journey and they say exactly similar things, but I always want to tell you, it's not just us saying these things. They also say it when they have gone through these areas. And one particular thing that I really liked was he said, treat your developers as you treat your kids. And what he mentioned by this is, you know, don't punish them if they do something wrong, right? Use it as a learning opportunity, because of course, if something happens when you do an upgrade and something goes wrong, right, it's easy to get angry because nobody is really noticing it. Everything goes super smoothly. But if it goes something wrong, people are really noticing things that are not going as well as meant. So again, also here's a couple of things. He was also saying that in terms of the technology, and I mean, I covered the technology part here right now, this was somehow fine. They were able to adapt this, do enablement in the organization, train people. But the hardest thing that he felt was the mindset. So I just want to give that also back to you. It's about the mindset and the change management also to do these things and adapt to these new approaches in your organization. Another customer story from Hitachi, how they are going also to upgrades within 1 month. I just also linked you this video in case you also want to go back and learn more about them. But I want to come a bit to the end where we talk about these myths and facts again. Remember these from the beginning. So let's now quickly go over them again. The first one was that BTP is the only means of making and keeping the core clean. Yes or no? No, yes. So you can achieve it by using on-stack and side-by-side, fit as much to the standard process as can, or a mix of all of both, right? You can do a mix and match as much as you like. Remember this slide that I showed you from earlier. The other fact was that we talked about was CleanCore is only about custom code and extensibility. No, it is not, because I think we talked a lot about these different parts. You know, it's of course about the extensibility, the data, the processes, integration. We have seen this slide a lot, so it's a myth. So CleanCore is only about TCO? No, it is about a couple of other things that you can do. I think the biggest one is really this innovative mindset, the agility, the flexibility. Remember this slide that I've shown to you before. Okay, so, and the last one, fit to standard is the only means of keeping the core clean. No, it's not. Of course, we really encourage you to stay as much clean as you can, but you obviously have other possibilities, again, coming back to this slide. Well, I guess super easy right now, right? Well, I guess it's still a bit where to start and how to start, right? I just also linked for you now the BTP guidance framework. So there are a lot of methodologies, reference architectures, everything you can find on here, right? So it is literally the entry point for all of your different groups, from architects, developers, and administrators. But there are also a lot of like service offerings of where we can help you. For example, if you are just want to get a first understanding about what it is and what is SAP doing, we have these different offerings and also some of the additional parts where you can also find more information. But if you might be somebody who wants to get a bit more of a deep dive understanding and what does CleanCore mean for me, again, some of the service offering and also some additional resources. And it goes more deeper and deeper, right? In terms of if you would like to understand how you can start your CleanCore journey, how you can understand what kind of existing custom code you have in your organization, and so on. So I've just also highlighted these two videos in here. And there is a custom code analysis to understand, okay, what is the status quo even in your organization, in your systems? This is what you can run yourself. There are two different ways. You can do it either if you already have planned to go to S4, have an S4 system, you can do it in there, or you can do it with the BTP. And there is a CleanCore dashboard, which also shows you how clean you are. So a couple of things of where to get started and how to get started. So I hope now we should all be very happy in terms of at least getting an understanding where to start. Please, if you have any questions, I'm happy to address them now. Connect with me, and if you have any further questions, you see my details here, and the link leads to LinkedIn. So yeah, thank you very much.